Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Reality Whisperer Webcast. I am your host, Brad Johnson, and so I'm coming from a very special place tonight. I'm coming from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. So I am traveling, and this is why we don't have the traditional introductions here. I'm using my laptop, and of course, the official introductions aren't ready for this particular episode, but that is okay. We have some really exciting information to share with you tonight. In a couple minutes, I'm going to be bringing in my special guest, Jim Girouard, and he's going to be talking about some really amazing information relating to the Hyperdimensional Resonator. We're also going to be talking about Dice Divination, and we're also going to be talking more about the Mandela effect, and Jim is also going to be sharing some more incredible insight with us as well, too. So just before we begin tonight, I want to thank everybody. I want to thank our viewers for tuning in live. We will have an opportunity for an open Q&A that will be happening about the last 30 minutes of the broadcast. So we're going to have about a 90-minute show for you this evening. Also, some announcements is this coming Sunday, I'm going to be holding the Astral Creations pay-per-view webinar. So this is happening this coming Sunday, starting at 12 p.m. Pacific time. You can go to realitywhisperer.com. You'll see the poster on the front page. Feel free to click on the poster and you can go ahead and register. We're going to be talking about some really amazing information as it pertains to thought forms and astral-based technology as well, too. Jonas is going to be coming through and sharing some really fascinating information. Also, this coming Saturday, we have a special edition of the Reality Whisperer Webcast, as my special guest is going to be Neil Gore from Portal to Ascension. And so this is going to be happening this coming Saturday at 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern. And Neil and myself are going to be talking about the discussion of extraterrestrial disclosure. So I'm really looking forward to this interview with a really good friend of mine. We have a lot of information to share with you, again, this coming Saturday at 12 p.m. Pacific for a special edition of the Reality Whisperer Webcast. All right, so we're going to go ahead and invite Jim in. So Jim, thank you so much for being part of the Reality Whisperer Webcast. I know we've talked quite a bit offline as well, too, and on Facebook. So I want to thank you so much for being a part of the show tonight.
Thanks for having me on. I can't tell you how pleased I am that you're doing this.
I thank you as well, too. And just being able to hear a lot about your work. I remember that you emailed me just not too long ago and told me a lot about the Hyperdimensional Resonator. And you were later telling me about, of course, the Dice Divination. So this will be our really two big topics tonight. But I'm really curious about how this all began for you as well, too. Like just being able to look in regards to how you had this particular type of epiphany as it relates to the imprint or the blueprint, as it relates to the Hyperdimensional Resonator, and how this all began for you in regards to this journey.
Well, I was walking down the streets of Fitchburg, Mass., and for some reason I had this feeling to go into this magazine store. And there was a UFO magazine. And I opened it up, I bought it. There was an ad in the back of the magazine that said New Age Science Association, and it was being conducted by a guy named Bruce Peralt. This is about 1980, actually. Yeah, 1980 or early 81. So I was interested in what he was doing. I wrote him a letter. I went up to his house and met him. I found out he was an amazing inventor. He had invented anti-gravity as a teenager.
Wow.
When he was in high school, they did an examination of his blood, and under a microscope they found that there was 3 colors to his blood: wow. red, white, and purple. And the government was called in. They offered him a place in the secret space program, and he refused it because he had a girlfriend at the time. And at the moment of his birth, there was an electrical storm. I looked it up on microfiche in the Manchester, New Hampshire library, and sure enough, it was true. And everything about him really checked out. He was an amazing inventor. I'd been with him like every weekend for several years, and I even wrote a booklet at that time called Beyond Test of Physics. And, we did some high voltage experiments back then. And one of the things that he invented is this thing called a sonic resonator. And I remember being at the house, and he came rushing up the stairs. He was all excited. And he said, I'm going to turn a piece of wood into a magnet. And I said, what do you mean? So he took the sonic resonator and he placed it up against a wooden desk and he tuned it. And after he was done, doing that, he took the loose magnet and he placed it up against the wood, and it stuck there.
Wow. Incredible.
So then he was explaining to me that the way that the wood was turned into a magnet was that the atoms in the wood were lined up in a straight line.
Now, is that something similar to what we would understand as perhaps like the construction of the pyramids in that way? Because you basically see how they would kind of depolarize and actually allow themselves to levitate, and being able to see all these very large granite blocks being put in place and then being able to embed themselves in that way. Kind of a similar mechanic with that.
Yeah, I would think that the alignment of the atoms in the pyramid would be very similar in the sense they're lined up in a straight line, yeah.
Wow, amazing. So he basically showed you a lot of this phenomenon relating to the wooden magnet as well too. And did this lead more so into the idea of the hyperdimensional resonator, or was that later down the road?
Yeah, what he explained to me was that this device was it's the waveform of time travel and space travel. And there's actually some confusion on the internet when I first posted it, because what I was saying was that this device created the same type of waveform that was used in the Philadelphia experiment that was done in 1943 with Einstein and Tesla. And they misunderstood what I was saying, and they thought what I was saying was that the device was used in the experiment. But what I was actually saying was that it created the same waveform, but was not used in the experiment.
Oh, I see. So basically, so the Philadelphia experiment, for those who may not be familiar about the Philadelphia experiment, what did that entail? What was the entire situation that occurred pertaining to that experiment?
The original intention of the Philadelphia experiment was for cloaking. Of course, they had no idea about the effects of these higher frequencies that they were generating. And as a result of trying to create cloaking, the ship actually went into the future.
Wow. Did it say exactly how far in the future, or was that indeterminate?
There's a lot of information on that. It's a hard question to answer, but there's some schools of thought out there that are now saying that this particular time window that they were using on that particular experiment was in 20-year increments. So in other words, it went from 1943 to 1963, and then there was another one in 1983 and so on, in 20-year increments.
Wow. So basically what happened to the crew when they were basically going through this time jump? Did they experience any kind of ill effects?
It was a real disaster because, there's a guy named Ed Bielik who's out there who actually survived it without any harm, but there were some other guys their atomic structures merged into the metal.
Wow. So kind of like just actually embedding yourself into the hull of the ship and being able to have these... I think there was also other reports of people almost like spontaneously combusting as well, too, or having like the idea of...
There was all kinds of disastrous things that happened, and the merging with the metal is sort of like one of those themes that you see on Star Trek, where they make a mistake and the accumulator doesn't work right, and they come out deformed in the end.
Exactly. Wow. So basically, with the Philadelphia experiment and everything that your friend knew as well too, did this lead him to continue to do more research that allowed more particular technologies to be constructed, or?
That's a good question too. I don't know if he actually built on that idea, but I believe he did. But I think he built on it, mentally. But shortly after he built it, he no longer had it because somebody stole it and destroyed it.
Oh, wow. So how did this get stolen? Is this in regards to the resonator?
Say it again.
How did this get stolen? And was this in regards to the resonator?
Somebody that he knew was a bit jealous or envious, and didn't want him to succeed, so he stole it and he got rid of it and destroyed it.
Oh, I see. Wow. So how did this begin with you in regards to the imprint of the hyperdimensional resonator? Did this come to you in a certain form of information that was shared with your friend, or did this happen in another way?
Yeah, I wrote a booklet. I don't know how much you read of it, but I sort of found myself in a position where I kind of felt like I had a lightning bolt in my hand and didn't know what to do with it. because, I had this schematic, and, the device itself had been stolen, so it was gone. So the feeling that I had was that perhaps maybe this device should be utilized and developed in some sort of way, but it was extremely dangerous because, the potential that this thing had was both, good and bad on both sides.
Now, do you have an effective demonstration about how the hyperdimensional resonator works, like how it would basically work together in helping others to, in that sense, cross into different dimensional timelines?
Yeah, this guy, Steve Gibbs, who actually built the HDR, which stands for Hyperdimensional Resonator. It's actually a time machine in some respects. What he did was he took our schematic and he put 4 or 5 stages of this sonic resonator together, and that's how we got the HDR.
Now, did you say you had a sample of the device itself?
I have a sample of the schematic.
Oh, a sample of the schematic, okay.
Very simple. 4 or 5 parts, a potentiometer, and a couple of diodes, and over here is a electromagnet and a loose Sumerian cobalt magnet, which is very powerful.
Wow. Now,
And
how
this
would...
is the,
Oh, sorry, yeah,
this is the device he,
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
this is the device he placed up against the wood and turned it into a magnet.
Wow. So how would one be able to utilize this particular device with the sonic resonator? Is it just something that they would use in regards to just like turning it on and being able to utilize its effects, or how is it a little bit more complicated than that?
Boy, that's a big question right there. I mean, I wish I had the insights to answer that one, because this device had so much potential. I mean, there was so many things that could have been done with it. And, the HDR unit, this time machine, is just one of the results of the invention.
Well, let's talk about that hyperdimensional resonator, because this is what I've been very familiar with when you were first telling me about it. I think you were saying that it basically triggers an out-of-body experience type of time travel. Now, how is this particularly achieved?
It acts as a electronically enhanced astral projection machine. It took me several years to track Steve Gibbs down, because he's kind of a hard guy to get a hold of. But I finally got a hold of him on the phone, and I bought one of the units from him. And I've used it several times, but it only worked for me the first time. And I didn't astral project, but I had this experience of seeing this razor-sharp disc fly by me. It was sort of an astral experience. And that was really the only time I had any kind of result from using the unit.
Have there been others that you know who have utilized the unit, had pretty profound experiences?
Oh yeah, there's people that have traveled through time with it.
Wow. Like actually physically, or through astral body?
Yeah, the physical travel through time is a little difficult, because you have to locate a grid point, and you have to be on the grid point. And I don't know exactly how they do that. They must use batteries or something, because this unit that I have, you plug in the wall.
Oh, I see. So being able to utilize the out-of-body experience, because I've had something similar to that with the radionics machine that I used, being able to look into a probable timeline within our future. So I would imagine that, again, the hyperdimensional resonator somewhat functions very closely to the association with radionics. Would that be true?
I was thinking that too, because the HDR is a wishing well.
Right, exactly. So is this something that you are able to purchase? Is somebody able to get a hold of the HDR if they were looking to sample it?
Yeah, it's a funny thing the way it works with his popularity, because it's such a unique device that he gets a lot of slack and a lot of criticism and a lot of hate mail and stuff like that. But the more hate mail he gets, the more units he sells.
Right, exactly. Let's look more into the idea of. I think there was a story that you were telling me that John Teeter, the individual known as John Teeter, who was very popular back in 2000, actually bought one of these units from Stephen Gibbs as well too. Is this so?
That's true. That's something that happened, and I found that out from Steve Gibbs directly, and I don't think that information is on the internet.
Oh, well. Did he give you an account exactly what happened pertaining to John Teeter wanting this?
He just happened to mention it in a conversation, and I jumped on it real quick and remembered it, like it happened yesterday, because that was a real unique sort of piece of information.
Wow, exactly. So for everybody
Don't forget that.
for everybody who's tuning in, who's not too familiar with John Teeter, basically he represented himself as a time traveler from the year 2036, and during the time of 2000, he was on message boards and being able to share a lot of intriguing posts as it pertains to his technology of a time machine, also being able to give predictions of future events as well too. So again, this has been really, really fascinating pertaining to the idea of the hyperdimensional resonator. But I think what's really fascinating as well too is the new method that you have discovered that is known as the Dice Divination. Now this is again something extremely fascinating. How did you come up with something like this? Because it does feel like it's kind of a complex system, but again, it's really arranged very well.
Well, before I get into the dice story, I just want to thank you for letting me talk about the sonic resonator, because this is the first time I've had the chance to, announce it anyway.
Well, that's great. We'll definitely have you on again. We'll definitely be talking more about it for sure.
Yeah. So the story about the dice code is it goes back to the Bible code, which is actually, quite well known. When the Bible code book came out, it was a bestseller. They had developed a computer program that would allow you to access thousands of letters from 5 of the books of the Bible. You could ask a question, punch in your name. It will give you your time of birth, your parents' name, where you were born, how many children you have, what kind of job you did, and how many years you lived. So then there was this video. These researchers were trying to prove that the Bible code was a hoax. And the way that they approached that idea was they took Moby Dick and they ran Moby Dick into a computer program, and then they asked questions. They got all kinds of answers, predictions, and they said, look, the Bible code is a hoax because we did the same thing with Moby Dick. But what it proved to me was that all you had to have was hundreds of random letters and you could get predictions. It didn't matter if you used Moby Dick or if you used the Bible. But then the next question is, how do I get the letters?
Exactly.
So I kept thinking the number 5. 5 kept going through my mind for some reason. And I was in Boston at the time, so I went to 4 stores. I didn't find any dice. The 5th store that I went to was a CVS, and they had a package of 5 dice. So, when I saw the 5 dice and it was at the 5th store, I thought to myself, well, I'm tuning into something here.
Yeah.
I'm getting a signal that I'm on the right track. So the way I had to do it was, there's 6 numbers on each dice. There's 5 dice equals 30, and there's 26 letters in the alphabet. So I had to add A, B, C, D at the end of my letter code. And I would throw the dice maybe 15 to 18 times and get roughly, 80 to 85 letters. And I would have to decode the numbers into letters, which was really time consuming and, kind of aggravating in some ways and took a lot of time. But I had a system, And then what happened was I remember my first reading, and the question I asked was, does the dice method work? So the answer I got was, ask Joe to aim a hot bid. And the way Joe was spelled was J-O, which is sort of like a slang word, like, he's a good Joe.
Yeah.
So when I saw that, I knew that it referred to this guy named Kevin. And at the time, Kevin was coming around and he was into business and he was trying to get us to invest in certain websites. So I thought, wow, this is Kevin. It's got to be him. So I called him on the phone. I said, Kevin, you're not going to believe what I'm going to tell you. And he says, I was just thinking about you. So I got my second signal, like a validation that the system worked, okay? So then a few months later, I went to a flea market. A friend of mine was running this sort of outdoor flea market. And I said, do you have Scrabble? Because I figured I'd use the letters that are on the tiles.
Mhm.
Scrabble. And he said, no, I don't have Scrabble, but I got Boggle. And I said, what's Boggle? And he said, it's a dice game that has letters on them.
Mhm.
So, I felt like I was in seventh heaven.
Wow.
Because I no longer had to decode the numbers into letters, because the letters were already on the dice. So what happened from that point on was for 3 years straight, I did at least one dice reading every day for 3 years.
Wow.
And then I found out that the secret to real unraveling the effectiveness of the dice method is the way that you ask the questions.
So what would the exact questions be in that way? Like if a person says, "Oh, can I win the lottery?" or "Is it a yes or no question?" or what? How would the aspect of the question be brought out?
Well, that's a good example right there. Like, can I win the lottery? It's a one-dimensional question.
Mhm.
You're asking your subconscious and your higher self. And your subconscious and your higher self doesn't have any concept of winning, doesn't have any concept of money or lottery or anything like that. So if you were to ask that question, the reading would say, he wants to know if he's going to win the lottery, which doesn't tell you anything.
Yeah.
But if you rearrange the question to something like, am I in a position to obtain abundance? Now what you're doing is you're opening up your subconscious to a wide spectrum.
So it would be basically, in that sense, attempting to interface with a type of oracle in that way, and that the oracle, in that sense, basically has these three-dimensional questions in that way, rather than feeling that there's just a yes or no response. And it's not like the tarot or like a pendulum in that particular way. This is something that's completely unique beyond it.
Yeah, the thing about tarot, tarot is like the most popular. If I was to compare the two of them, I would have to say that each card in the tarot is in a fixed position. So in other words, the death card means change, the magician means initiation, and so on. Okay, so when you do a tarot card reading, you're getting like a kind of a general outline of what's going to happen and what kind of situation you're in, things like that. But with the dice method, you're getting specific information that pertains to you personally. The
Yes.
day, the month, the year, the town, your name spelled out letter for letter, the country, the situation, the problem, and the solution.
Exactly.
And your magical name.
Yes, I remember you were telling me that today for my own. So very interesting. And this is again very, very true as well too, as I just did a reading the other night as well too, with where I'm staying. And the reading we got was just absolutely profound. We actually got a name of a person that the person I'm staying with right now knows personally within their own family. And this is incredible. Just being able to ask a very simple question and being able to see this amazing kind of accuracy coming through the subconscious as well too. Now, basically, how would people be able to get the type of divination kit in that way, the Dice Divination kit? Is there a particular product that would be very useful to helping them utilize this for themselves?
They may already have a boggle game at home that they're not using. They can use that. Um, if it's a boggle game that has 16 dice, they can throw 16 dice like 9 times and get the same number of letters. Or if they have the more advanced boggle, they can use 26 or 25 and get the amount of numbers that way. And what I use now is Campbell's alphabet dice, which is much better because the ink that they use on the dice is more like an enamel and doesn't wear off right away. Even if you did a reading like once a day for 6 months to a year, it'd still be good.
Yes, and that's what I'm using as well too right now. It's the Campbell's Alphabet Dice game. And for people who are wondering how to purchase that, if you want to do it online, you can just go to like Amazon, and Amazon has them quite in a very good hefty supply as well too. So now, how would this basically arrange itself in regards to people being able to understand what the dice is saying? Because if you're basically shuffling the dice around and being able to ask your question, and then being able to carefully drop the dice, how is this arranged in regards to how people can receive these messages?
Well, I've sort of been at this, introducing the dice method on the internet for 3 years, and I've dealt with hundreds of people that have tried to learn it. So I've been sort of studying the nature of the way people go about their approach to how they try to learn it. And I finally came to a point where, just a week or so ago, I placed some guidelines on Facebook so that they can read the guidelines and get an idea about what to do. I want to get into this a little bit because there's some details I want to explain.
Yes.
One thing that happens is people get real excited about this method in the very beginning, and they want to share it with their friends. So what they do a lot of times is they'll hand the dice over to their friend, and their friend will throw the dice, and they'll try to put some codes together. But then what happens is the person who threw the dice, which is the friend, has questions, and they ask the question to the person who handed them the dice, not me. So the person who gave them the dice doesn't have any answers. So this sort of creates like some tension, some miscommunication and things like that. So now in the guidelines, I'm suggesting, you can do these readings with your friend. Just introduce them to me on Skype first. Have them get to know me, and then they can contact me directly on Skype. And I'll answer their questions. I'll decode their letters for them. They can do as many readings as they want. Mm-hmm. But one thing that's been happening quite a bit is this sort of excitement that they feel kind of gives them the idea that this is like a big free-for-all where they can just sort of like change the system that I've created in the very beginning. And I don't encourage that, because in the beginning, what you want to do is learn how to use the method first. And then after 6 months or a year, you can change it around any way you like, because that's actually part of the process. Achieving mastery is when you're able to take your own idea and apply it to this kind of a method, and then carve something out which is completely different. Mm-hmm. But for myself, I created a method that works, and I've never deviated once in 7 years. I do it exactly the same way every single day. 26 dice, I roll them 5 times. I put the letters in the middle, the words on the bottom, and the sentences on top. And I've never deviated or changed in any way.
So with the words on the bottom and the sentences on top, are we referring just like being able to write down everything that you receive, like pertaining to the dice? So if you are rolling the dice out and it's like on a light mat in that way, are we basically just kind of looking at the letters as they appear, as they're rolled out, or are we attempting to organize them into something like an anagram?
Here's your reading.
So we're seeing a lot of the letters on the bottom, the words on the top as well too. So basically, with everything that you laid out here, with the letters in that sense, is that how they were appearing in regards to how they were rolled? So they were basically just being organized in that particular way and just writing it down and being able to form anagram letters after that.
The letters in the middle, words on the bottom, sentences on top. They don't have to do it that way. They can change that any way they want. But I'm just suggesting that they just roll the dice every day, or as often as they want, maybe once a week even. And they send me the letters in an email, and I decode the letters, send them the reading, and then talk to them on Skype, and we discuss it. And I try to give them as many shortcuts as possible, because, like I was saying before, it took me 3 years to perfect this method, and I must have done 1,500 readings before I had it down perfect.
So is there a specific way about how a person roll the dice, because you're not just carelessly throwing the dice around in that way to cause that? Is it advisable to get like something like a mat, just so something is very solid, so if something is very soft, so that you can just kind of sprinkle the dice around? Is that how it would work?
I have a dice board which has a 1/2-inch border all the way around. It's only a couple of feet long,
right.
But the 1/2-inch border prevents the dice from flying off. And the other thing you want to know about throwing the dice is you don't really throw them. You just sort of drop them, and as you're dropping them, you spread your hands out like this, and then the dice will fall, and there'll be spaces in between. The dice will be easier to read, but if you just throw them, they'll fly everywhere.
Right.
They'll be halfway across the room, but you want them to be close together, but have like a half-inch to an inch space between each dice.
So it's very important that you are holding the dice in your hands while you are asking the question as well, too, just so the dice can capture your energy for that.
Yeah, here's another thing. Don't put the dice in a cup.
Mm-hmm.
Because your energy isn't going to go into the dice. It's, you're holding the cup, but your body energy and your chi, your life force isn't going into the dice.
Right. Because I know that was one of my questions as well too. Do I get like a bowl or do I get a cup? And that's a very important point as well too. Making sure that your life energy touches the dice as well too. So basically, what type of readings have you received from the dice? Has there been something very, very profound that has been coming through pertaining to the dice in regards to the readings you've done?
How much time do we have?
Oh, we got some time.
Okay, I've gotten readings from Nostradamus. I've gotten readings from Edgar Casey, extraterrestrials, angels, spirits, deceased people. I've gotten messages from the future. I've gotten a dozen earthquake predictions that came out right on target. The day, the event, even the numbers of the Richter scale came out perfect.
Wow. Has there been like some information in regards to where we are headed, looking into 2016, about what things are what's lying ahead? Have there been any messages on that level?
Lots of messages on that one. I get them all the time. Like the dark societies are retreating. People are waking up. This is a good topic for me because I really feel that we're sort of hitting on the subject matter of, the revolution is really here now and we're starting to feel it.
Absolutely. And I'm feeling that as well, too, just with a lot of the information I've brought out, talking to my friend Alina as well, too. She's receiving a lot of information. She is also doing the Dice Divination quite a lot as well, too.
She's actually in the level of mastery. She told me that before she got the dice. She said, I already know how to do this. And then she started decoding. She's getting full sentences.
Wow, amazing.
That's extremely rare.
Yeah, I remember one of the very first readings I was doing was in regards to the idea of the next U.S. president in that particular way, and I believe I only had 12 dice created at that particular time, and I basically just asked, after Barack Obama, who will be the next U.S. president, and so being able to do the dice divination in that way, it came in so clearly as well too. It was just so obvious about what you could see, and not to hurt anybody's feelings out there as well too, but unfortunately, what I did receive was Hillary Clinton. So basically. That was something that just came in so polished and everything. Like C was the first letter, followed by I, L, and I, and it just all started to interconnect. So to me, this was just absolutely astounding. And now I'm starting to work in the sentence structure as well too, utilizing the anagrams and being able to put this together. So this is again a very remarkable tool.
Yeah, I want to talk about your reading there because there's a couple of aspects to it. One thing is that your reading may not have been a prediction of the future. It may have been the capturing of a subconscious thought on your part. The other thing is you may have captured a future timeline. And if it's a future timeline, that's something that can be changed.
Right. It kind of goes back to the time of Nostradamus as well, too, when he was giving these particular predictions. He didn't want to give these predictions out to scare anybody. He wanted to give these predictions out and saying, if I tell you the most horrible things, will you be able to change it? And I think that's my philosophy as well, too. I don't think anybody wants to really see someone like Hillary Clinton come together. And so being able to see that if I show this to you guys from what I've received, whether it be a subconscious thought or a probable timeline, let's see if we can work together to change that as well, too. So that has certainly been my own particular intent. But again, just being able to see everything come in together so crisp and clear relating to that question was, again, quite astounding.
We're actually quite lucky to be living in the times that we are with the internet and everything. But back in the times of Nostradamus, if something leaked out, they would have lopped his head off.
Yes, absolutely. And it's a lot of work that the once Dolores Cannon was able to work with Nostradamus as well too in regards to her own hypnosis work, and basically that was all part of her purpose to work together with him to say that we will tell these predictions and being able to avert them in that way. So whether again alive or past, he's still able to share this information, and it's really been able to see a very great aversion pertaining to these types of horrible timelines that he was able to see. So being able to see that there has been a definite change, and I think that's leading us into our next topic, which relates to the Mandela effect as well too. And I've been working with understanding the Mandela effect here now for almost close to about a year, and I've been watching some of your videos in regards to the Mandela effect, and I found them very fascinating. So from your own perspective, what would you define the Mandela effect as?
Well, I think the Mandela effect is just another word for quantum. Back in the 50s, they came up with the word quantum, and they had it. It was a theory, basically. And then some years later, quantum became more than just a theory, where they had an experiment that they were doing. And they were projecting particles from one end to the other. And one part of the experiment, they realized that their thoughts were affecting the particles. And then they couldn't decide whether to call it a wave or a particle, so they come up with the word wavicle.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so now the quantum field is now in a third stage, which is what we refer to as the Mandela effect. And my take on it right now is that the Mandela effect is sort of like approaching the same level as this sort of 3D reality that was sort of 3D reality is kind of like in a fixed state where, like, every morning you wake up in the same bed, you're in the same place, you have the same friends, everything's the same. So that's kind of like a fixed reality. But the quantum field is not fixed at all. It's just this big sort of, free for all of, there can be 100 buildings instead of one. There can be 100 versions of you. It's unlimited. And so now I think what's happening is this quantum field is rising up, and as it gets higher and higher to being equal to 3D reality, I think what's going to happen is when the two become equal, you're going to have that total split. The two Earths are going to split, and the ones that are evolved are going to go on one Earth, and the ones that are stuck in 3D will be on the other.
Right. Now, you felt this was something that may have transitioned around December 21st, 2012, as it pertains to the Mandela effect, almost like a singularity unfolding, inverting itself, and now being able to see this birth of like these two particular universes. I've referred them kind of like as a masculine universe and as a feminine universe, and basically being able to bring them together and kind of amalgamate in that particular way, which Adronis has referred to as the amalgamation effect. So basically, again, another fascinating premise pertaining to the Mandela effect as well.
I kind of put that idea across in one of my videos, but I don't think I'm the only person who had that idea. It's just that when you're dealing with this Mandela effect subject, I think you really have to put yourself out there as someone who's searching and doesn't really have any more answers than anybody else, because, if you kind of try to define it in a fixed sort of manner and say, this is exactly what it is, then you kind of get in trouble with that on the internet. There's so many trolls out there that want to send you nasty emails. They're looking for an excuse to do that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So with what's happening with the Mandela effect, do you have an idea about where we are going through the idea of this new shift and transitioning that's happening in the quantum field?
Have you ever seen the movie Another Earth?
Yes, I have, yeah.
And then there's the idea that Dolores Cannon put across about the two Earths being simultaneously side by side.
Yeah.
Well, I think the Mandela effect seems to be. I almost think of it as a tool almost that. I kind of discovered along the way, like a couple months ago, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and she was talking about deja vu. And as she was telling me about her experience, I had a deja vu. And then a couple of weeks later, after thinking about it, quite a bit, I had several more deja vus as a result of trying to think of a way to sort of stimulate the experience. And what I found out was that there's no formula to make a deja vu happen. But what's really happening is that your thinking mind, which is sort of restless, you're thinking all the time. It's like you got a beehive in your brain all day long about all these things that you have to do. That's what's preventing you from having a deja vu. And, by nature, I think we're designed to be in the deja vu state all the time, because the deja vu state is the state of eternity, where there is no time. And I think that's basically where we come from, like the source. We come from eternity, but we're here in these material bodies, in the material world, thinking, all day long, I have to go do this, I have to go do that. The mind is restless. It's very powerful and it's very hard to tame.
Exactly, and I think we're starting to see, again, some of these residual effects as it pertains to the Mandela effect. Now, some people would refer to this as quote-unquote false memories, but they're discovering that, again, from the collective universe that they come, like you were talking about, the Bragg's apple cider vinegar. That was once known as Bragg's, and now we're seeing it in this reality known as Bragg. The Bernstein Bears, that is now known as the Berenstain Bears. So we're basically seeing these particular fluctuations as it pertains to memory from one universe to another.
I remember buying Bragg's with an S just a year and a half ago.
So it's something that would happen pretty recently. I remember just being able to watch the Berenstain Bears with my kids, even being able to look back in my time as well, too, with the Berenstain. I remember just as plain as day with the Berenstain Bears, and I just watched a video that a friend sent me and said, Brad, you got to watch this. And it says, this is going to blow your mind. And so I watched this, and I was... after I watched it, there was talking about the Berenstain Bears. They're saying that here it is on the books, here it is on the merchandise. I started searching and searching all across the internet, and said, no, this can't be real. This has got to be something fake. And I just looked up in regards to eBay, in regards to Amazon, a lot of images that you find on the internet, even just eventually going to a store and seeing the Berenstain Bears. Right? So to me, that was, again, just absolutely mind-blowing, seeing this shift that has taken place.
I tried to dismiss it myself.
Yeah. Because it feels like something that maybe just somebody trolled or just basically pranked, and then being able to see a lot of these different forms of transitions happen through this particular effect.
I'm just as much of a skeptic as anybody else.
Absolutely.
Here's the other thing, like when you go into a supermarket, you sort of glance over at something that you've been buying for years, and you just grab it, right?
Yeah.
But you're not going to grab it and then put it right up to your face and study the lettering to see if they changed the spelling of the product.
Yes. Yeah.
You're not going to do that. So, for years you're buying this product and all of a sudden they change the spelling. You don't see it because you're not examining the label.
Well, exactly, and that doesn't bring any particular marketing potential from the company's standpoint to change the label of their brand as well, too. So that wouldn't be something that would be fate in that particular way.
That's another point that I was trying to make too, is it's not a good business move to change the spelling of a product.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you'd have to be out of your mind to do something like that if you had a business. It's like you don't change the spelling of your last name.
Exactly.
You just don't. The spelling of your name stays the same your whole entire life. So why would J.C. Penney add another E into the name?
Exactly.
Nobody would do that in their right mind.
Exactly. Just looking at all of these particular aspects, even with films as well, too. We all remember but there was one that was coming to my attention recently from the song from Queen about We Are the Champions. And I remember just listening to that song religiously as a kid and being able to hear it at the end where it just says We Are the Champions and there's no of the world. I'm like, what happened here? What's going on? Right? So, again, just incredible phenomena happening with this.
That video with George Clooney and Julia Roberts was hysterical.
It was, absolutely. But moving on from the Mandela effect, Jim, you said that you had some paintings that you wanted to share with us tonight as well.
Yeah. Well, I have a sketch here I'd like to show you first.
Okay.
This is a friend of mine, Louise.
So what are we looking at here?
Well, what I did was I had her laid down on her back, and I took a photo of her so I could get that effect of the hair sort of looking like it was coming out and exploding.
Wow. That's incredible.
This is the back of my third book, Journey into Eternity. There's some clear on there. I don't know if you can read that.
A little bit, a little bit. See if I can get Adventure, the Awakens. Let me see if I can click on the Skype window. I can see a bit better. In the Singularity Adventure, the awakened seeker in his journey of the imagination is assisted by the inner vision of owl magic.
And there's the owl.
So you're able to describe owl magic. What is owl magic?
Well, owl magic, like the Shaolin priests considered every animal to have a magical potency. And the way that they developed the martial arts was they sort of mimicked the movements of the tiger and the crane and various animals to get what they now call martial arts. So in shamanism, there's something very similar that goes on where these potencies that are possessed by animals, you can take that potency into yourself as a result of either meditating on that animal, or in some cases, that animal might all of a sudden show up out of nowhere, and that's a sign that the magic from that animal has now come into your life one way or another.
So basically, kind of given this type of synchronicity that something has come about, because that's something that's very common for many people that I talk to as well too, is the communication with animal guides as well too, not just through the idea of human spirit beings, because I think we get that sense that if we have spirit guides, they must be human beings, or they must be extraterrestrial, or something of that nature, but it really can just come down to the point of connecting with animal consciousness as well too, and helping them to direct the way.
Yeah, like a dog. A dog's magic is loyalty. A bird's magic would be flight. The owl magic, they have the big eyes, so what you get from owl magic is inner vision.
Very powerful. Did you have another picture that you want to show us?
Yeah, I got some paintings here that I did.
Oh, beautiful.
These are acrylic paintings.
So was that created recently?
Last year.
Last year. Wow. So that would be like almost like a type of ethereal being.
Yeah, that was the idea, like an ethereal being sort of floating around out in space or in the heavens.
Now, what is happening to you when you are painting these pictures? Has there been certain visions that are coming to you, or do you get certain messages about what the picture must be?
Well, when I was a teenager, I learned how to self-hypnotize myself into a trance. And the idea of doing that was to get, some ideas for drawings, because I was doing a lot of artwork as a teenager. And I've just been using this sort of technique of self-hypnosis ever since.
Wow, very powerful. Did you have another one that you wanted to show?
Yeah, I got quite a few here, actually.
Excellent.
This one.
Now, are you offering these particular paintings for other people? Are they looking to purchase off you, or did you have something that you wanted to? Are they available to receive copies of these?
I like to keep them so I can display them.
Ah, very good. Oh, that one's great. And so these were all done within about the span of a year or two?
Yeah.
Wow.
Started doing them a couple of years ago. Actually, these are the first paintings I've ever done.
Wow.
I never painted before.
Incredible.
It's kind of a starburst.
Oh, that's amazing. Yes. It's almost like looking at almost like a 10-pointer, or even a 12-pointer, or even a multi-pointed star. Just being able to resonate this incredible amount of light. It's amazing what those pictures are doing to me. So, fantastic. And were you able to describe exactly what we're seeing here pertaining to this? Like, was there a certain feeling or sensation that was being brought forward through that particular painting?
Well, I spent some time thinking about the effect. Like I was getting certain feelings from looking at the paintings, and I painted them in a certain way for a reason, but I couldn't quite, put my finger on being able to explain what I was doing or how I was doing it. And then one day it sort of occurred to me that these paintings are sort of vibrating in a way. And what I mean is, if you take shapes and you take certain colors and you combine them together in a certain manner, the painting actually vibrates.
Wow. So it's kind of almost like aligning crystals in that particular way, noticing that you've created a grid and feeling the vibrational effects of that particular painting.
That's like an alignment of colors and shapes.
Incredible. Well, Jim, this is absolutely amazing, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to move into questions, because I know there'll be quite a few people who may want to ask you questions in regards to everything we presented tonight. So for everybody who is now tuning into the chat, if you want to go ahead and just leave a question behind for Jim relating to everything that we have discussed tonight, or again, if you have other particular questions for Jim in regards perhaps to the Dice Divination or anything else like that, feel free to place your questions. Here's basically one from Sharanjit. She asks, can you do time travel by doing regular meditation, or how do you connect to that?
I've never done that myself. I've only asked projected a couple of times, so I'm not sure if I'm really qualified to answer that one.
So basically, from my own feeling, I guess it depends in regards to what one would consider to be time travel, because we're always going off into different dimensional realities all the time. Sometimes they may be concurrent with our own timeline, something that may come about in the near future, or something that may just be, in that sense, completely different, but again, has some type of association. So my own feeling in that way is that Jonas has always referred to it as dimensional travel and never time travel, looking into the idea of different dimensions and different realities that are available, and being able to access this based upon the relationship that you hold as it is attempting to convey its meaning based upon what you discover within an environment. So, Sharanjit, I hope that answers your question. Here's one from Wang. Wang asks, Jim, what's your reading pertaining to our economic change and the transition period in 2016? Were you able to get any information on that?
No, because what I'm trying to do here is explain how the method works and how an individual goes about asking the question. Like that particular question is something that somebody would ask maybe 6 months down the road after having the dice. But I myself, I don't have any answers in that sort of way, like where I can just say, yeah, the economy is going to do this because I got a reading. No, it doesn't work like that. That the economy is something, it's like a thought, and thoughts exist within a flowing spectrum, and they're always changing. So, whatever happens in the future is actually right now.
That's right.
Your thoughts are the future.
Absolutely.
So a question like that, I think of it it's more like a personal question, like, what is my economic future? And my economic future depends on the decisions I make right now in the present.
Very good. Here's one from June Hall. She asks, what good benefits, okay, this is basically, again, another time travel, but I guess if you were talking to Stephen Gibbs as well, too, who was designing the box. Now, did he basically try the box himself, and did he feel like any benefits came out of the idea of time travel from his own perspective?
He's well, you'd have to talk to him personally to get a vibration from his voice is the best way I can explain it. I was able to realize from talking to him on the phone that this guy's been time traveling for years and years and years, and knows all about it. But his sort of mentality and his perspective is not mainstream at all.
Exactly. It's very much, it's almost in that sense kind of challenging to be able to get a hold of the man as well, too, to be able to cannot contact him in that sense, probably because of a lot of what's been happening with him. pertaining to this particular device.
He called me up one time when I was in Boston, and he told me that he said, I'm traveling through time without the device. What should I do next?
Hmm.
And I couldn't understand why he was asking me because, even though I sent him the schematic, I'm not an expert in that area.
Yeah. Has he been able to contact with you recently, or has it been quite some time since you talked?
I haven't talked to him since last year.
Oh, I see. All right. Well, we'll go ahead and move on to another particular question here. This one is from Ospedidius. I think I'm spelling that right. They ask, do you share your dice cipher, or do you require people to send the results to you exclusively?
Yeah, oh yeah, it depends, if the person I'm doing the decipher for allows me to share it, let's say on Facebook, I'll do it, according to the permission, but ordinarily I wouldn't, because it's personal.
Okay, very good. Now, how can people get a hold of you if they have any questions pertaining to the dice? Do you have a website, a Facebook account, or Skype? I guess we have Skype as well, too. Did you want to share your contact information for anybody who wants to learn more about the Dice Divination method?
Yeah, everything they need to know is on Facebook. It's under Jim Girouard, and my Skype is Revel Artist 71. It's Revel with a V, and my email is revelartist7@gmail.
Okay, very good. We'll have that up on the archived recording as well, so people can get in touch with you. I'm just going to see if there's any more questions here in the chat. Looks like that's it. Looks like that's all the questions I have for right now. Jim, was there anything else that you wanted to share with everybody tonight in regards to what we have been discussing, or something else of another topic?
I'd like to show you the masterpiece.
Oh, great. Excellent.
I have a big one, so I have to pull it back a little bit.
Yes, it's very interesting. So what is it that we're looking here at?
Let me just click this off so I can see it.
Okay.
Something was coming up from Facebook. I couldn't see myself. Yeah, this is, I don't know if you can read that, but it says, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there.
Wow. That's incredible. That definitely would be the masterpiece. Now, was that something, again, that was recently completed as well?
I drew it 7 years ago.
7 years ago.
And it took me a year to draw it.
Now, is this on the cover of one of your books?
No. I had it displayed in an art museum at one time.
Now, you do have some free books available for people as well, too. Is there a website that people can go and access these books, or do they need to contact you personally for them?
They can send me an email. I can send them the book files through email.
Great. Excellent. Well, Jim, thank you so much for being on the program tonight on the Reality Whisperer Webcast. I really just had this incredible, wonderful 1-hour discussion with you, and thank you everybody on the chat room tonight for being able to share your information and your questions with Jim as well. So again, all of Jim's information will be posted on the Reality Whisperer Webcast archived recording. And Jim, we will also be doing an event with Elena Kapolnik here in the next couple of weeks as well too, having kind of a 3-way conversation relating to many different things as well too. So I'm looking forward to that. But thank you so much. That's the first time you and I have been able to speak face to face like this, and I want to thank you so much for coming on the show tonight.
I was just wondering if I could give a little shout out to some friends of mine.
Oh, for sure. Feel free.
There's Laura Liberty, Elena Kapolnik, Patrick Flanagan, and Stephanie, Marla McNeil, Lavender, and everybody else has sort of contributed to helping me get to where I am today.
Thank you so much, Jim, and thank you again for everybody who has tuned into this and to everything else. I really appreciate you coming on the program, and again, just being able to share a lot of this incredible innovation of the Dice Divination method, and again, your amazing perspectives. Thank you so much.
Well, time flies when you're having fun.
That's true. It's totally true. Thank you so much, Jim, and we'll go ahead and we'll conclude Skype, and I'll definitely drop you an email later tonight.
All right.
You take care. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ben.
Okay, guys, so I'm just going to take a moment here. All right. So, again, we had a really kind of short and sweet interview with Jim Girouard tonight. He is just a wonderful human being. I remember that he actually just emailed me not too long ago. I think it was back a couple months back. And it was one of my shows. I can't remember which one it was, one of the Reality Whisperer webcasts. And he was basically telling me about the Hyperdimensional Resonator, and that he was basically the one who created the blueprint for it. And as soon as I heard that, I wanted to talk to him a lot more. He was showing me a lot more about his free books, and I've been reading his free books, and they are absolutely astounding, especially with the information pertaining to the Dice Divination method. So again, I'm still working on the Dice Divination method as well too, working to understand a little bit more. It is good to being able to do it on a daily basis as well too, so I do it again as often as I can. But again, feel free to talk to Jim, and he is very open. He has no particular agenda here other than just being able to share this knowledge with everybody. So again, the links will be available for you to contact him, be it through Skype or Facebook or whichever you feel is your preference. But again, thank you everybody for tuning in tonight. Again, I want to thank our sponsors. That's normally in the intro video. I want to thank, again, Dr. Mulder's Wishing Machine, which, again, you can look at freecharm.com/bradjohnson.html. I want to thank, again, our other sponsor, portaltoascension.org. And, again, remember to tune in this coming Saturday for a special edition of the Reality Whisperer Webcast with Neil Gore, and we are going to be talking about extraterrestrial disclosure. And, of course, finally, my good friend, Rainbow Light Being, who runs his own YouTube channel, Pot of Gold YouTube channel. Just type in Pot of Gold YouTube channel on Google, or you can just type in Pot of Gold, and you can access his amazing channel as well too, sharing a lot of great compilation videos as well. But I want to thank especially all of you. Thank you so much for being a part of the Reality Whisperer Webcast. Again, we'll be coming this Saturday with Neil Gore, and of course next Tuesday, I should say. Next Tuesday, we'll be having our special guest, Mark Sorensen. And so he'll be coming on as well too, and this is a very fascinating individual. Actually, haven't been able to come up with a title for our episode yet, but that is going to be coming very soon. But feel free to connect next Tuesday here on the Reality Whisperer Webcast with Mark Sorensen. Tomorrow on the Reality Whisperer YouTube channel is the next episode of the Adronis Advancement Classroom. Coming up this Thursday is also the next episode of the Healer's Guide. So again, as our new schedule is unfolding here, every Monday is that of the Psi Academy. Every Tuesday night, of course, the Reality Whisperer Webcast. Wednesday night, that of the Adronis Advancement Classroom. And Thursday, that of the Healer's Guide. So again, a lot of exciting content coming up here this week, and of course next week as well. So here I am, everybody, live from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Wonderful place where I'm staying, wonderful company as well too. And I will be returning back home here Saturday evening. And just kind of resting up and enjoying everything as I get back to the swing of things, continuing to do some upcoming work, especially some events coming up as well too. Neil Gore will also be talking about our upcoming amazing event, 4-day event, that's going to be coming up in August. That's called Extraterrestrial Disclosure. So we'll be talking about that this coming Saturday at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. So thank you everybody for tuning in tonight, and I look forward to speaking to you this Saturday. Take care. Namaste, and may it be well with you. Good night.